Hello everyone. Thank you for the being here for my talk today. I'm Mozhgan Saeidi, a postdoc at the Barbara Engelhardt's lab, and today I'm going to talk about one of our recent works in the clinical trial matching problem. So here's the outline of my talk. I will start with a general overview of the problem, and then the key roles of the large language models in this problem. And then the overview of the data set, our method, and lastly, I will talk about the results that we have. So as we all know, the clinical trial is an important part in developing new treatments for the patients, and in particular, patients are facing difficult challenges when they wanted to go through the complex text to find the eligibility criteria for them to find the best solution treatment for them. But today, because we have access to large language models and they are good in understanding the complex text, so we should be able to find a solution by using the large language models to provide better matches for the patients. But how is the general overview and the process of clinical trial matching? So it actually has three steps. The first is preparing the data that we have on one side, the patient data, that it includes the medical records and the past history of the patients. And on the other side, we have the trial data that it's including all eligibility criteria, the inclusion and exclusion. In the second part of the process, we have the training the model. And here, when we are talking about the large language models, we need to train these models on the large data sets of both the patients and the trial information. But the current approaches that are used in the clinics are including the supervised and unsupervised approaches. And the last part of the process is matching and explanation. So when the model is trained on the patient data and it analyzes both the data of the patient and the trial and identify what are the possible better matches for the patients, we need to provide clear explanation for both the clinician and the patients. For this study, the dataset that we use is coming from two sources. One is the NIH clinical data that it actually covers 8 different diseases, and for each one of the diseases, we have the information of 5 different patients. And for the trials, we have access to May 2023 of the NIH trial dataset. And the second data is the N2C2 dataset that it's covering 288 diabetic patients. And for the criteria, this dataset is actually considering 13 different common criteria. Okay, our method. So in here, the general problem is that we are given a set of patients notes, the past history and a collection of the trials. And the goal is to find better matches between them. So first we going through identifying what are the inclusion and exclusion, and then providing a ranking system to find better top 100 matches for each one of the patients. And for doing that, we are using the large language models of BERT, SentenceBERT, GPT-4, and Llama 2. We can kind of identify or extract our method into two parts. That in the first part, we are going to identifying what are the relevant trials based on the disorder of each one of the patients by extracting the inclusion and exclusion by considering the keywords, and then going through refining those candidates by using the large language models. And for the matching techniques, we use these concept mapping, which is converting the medical terms by using the UMLS concept IDs. And actually, the reason for using these UMLS concept IDs is for having a standards understanding when we are talking about the biomedical terms. And then we use this match-based ranking, which is going through prioritizing the trials with a higher number of matches between the concepts of the patients and the trials. So we first start by evaluating the zero-shot setting of the large language model, and the reason for choosing this zero-shot setting is because they are easy and they don't need to have like huge volume of label data. And when we wanted to extract the representations, as I said, we use the BERT-based models, specifically the sentence BERT. And the usage of sentence BERT here is that we need to like identify the semantic relations between the sentences of the clinical trials. So when we use this sentence BERT, that's like providing more contextual information in the trials if they are like missing any type of information. And also we use the prompt engineering. So the reason for using these prompts is because they are kind of like guiding the large language model toward finding the better solution or the better match with the trials. And the type of the methods for like the prompts that we feed into the LLM model is that we have 4 different prompts. The first is like all criteria, all the nodes, and it means that we are like converting all the criteria into one single prompt at a time when we wanted to feed it into the large language model, and then it extracts like all the assessment criteria at once. A second type of the prompt is all criteria individual nodes. It means that it's considering like converting all the criteria into one single prompt, and then the model is considering to extract like all of the possible assessment as one individual node. And the third one is individual criteria, all the nodes, and the last type of the prompt is individual criteria, individual nodes. After identifying possible inclusion and exclusion and possible matches, we go through ranking system. So our ranking system is starting by filtering the clinical trials that they have the same condition as the patient, and then extracting the inclusion and exclusion by using those UMLS concept IDs that we extracted before. And for the matching of the concepts, we use like those representations from the sentence BERT and then going through the ranking of the matches. And by ranking, I mean using the similarity scores that it's searching for matching of the concept IDs. And when the number of the matches is higher, it means that they are more relevant to each one of the patients. And in the re-ranking part, we itemize like all the inclusion and exclusion criteria, and then convert all of those representations by using this sentence BERT, which like the goal or like the reason here is like just adding more context and then encoding all of each these itemized criteria into the contextual embedding. And specifically for like computing these similarities, we are like using this pairwise similarity, cosine similarity by using the inclusion matrix and the exclusion matrix. That these are like 2 parts that providing these similarity scores. And for the evaluation metrics, we first use the precision recall and F1 score in terms of evaluating the yes/no decision of the matches. And then for the re-ranking system, we kind of like define these 3 type of scoring functions. That one is naive high precision score, the other is weighted relevancy score, and balanced relevancy score. So because of the time, I will not go through the detail here. If you're interested, please refer to the paper. And here I have the results of these evaluations using the different large language models like before and after the prompting. And the goal here is just to emphasizing that even though we know the large language model of GPT-4 is like providing better and more accurate results, but still we are able to use sentence BERT specifically if we don't have access to high computing power. And as a summary of our approach, we first started by using the prompt engineering and zero-shot settings for identifying the initial candidates. And after these identifications, we went through like doing some kind of ranking by using these standards and matching system ranks. Yeah, thank you so much. And if you have any question, please send me an email. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for a quick question. If there is no question online, also I have a quick question. Just a second, I have a quick question. So because we are in the TransMed and most of the products and frameworks and platforms address the clinicians also, how much expertise do you think they will need it kind of like computationally to use the work that you presented today? Because this is basically what we are also asked by collaborators from hospitals and not only.
Exactly. Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, so you are like talking about the computing machines that we have access to?
Yes, and what expertise they would need to have it in their team in order to use it directly there. So it's also related to the data security, privacy,
Right.
and so on. So they prefer to have it in house in a sense.
Right. So if we are able like to have access to like high computing powers for running, let's say the GPT-4 model, because they are like pre-trained model. So if they are just maybe like they don't need to be very expert in machine learning because they are like pre-trained model. So all of the training sets are just there, but we need to feed the training data. So in terms of the training data, it means that what type of history of the patients we have access to, and then we can kind of like combine these two type of information and then just feed that through the large language model.
And the data doesn't need to be in a specific format or standard something.
So it just means we need to have a kind of like a text. So for example, the first data set I was showing, it's like all in the XML format, and the other they are like we are able like to convert them to the XML. So just this conversion, they doesn't need to be like expert in that area.
Thank you very much, Mozgan.
Thank you.
We will